I guess one thing we hadn't really touched on is there was a bunch of stretch goals in the Kickstarter.
Mm.
So you had some
Yep.
stretch goals for additional characters and additional drones, yes?
Yes, that is correct. So I guess what do you want to know about them?
I guess,
Um,
well, what is going to be in the game with where the Kickstarter reached? And I guess, what do you plan to do with what wasn't met?
okay, good questions. So at least in our game, we're going to have at the bare minimum 2 drones and 2 humans,
Mm-hmm.
and that gives us a combination of 4 different decks. And without having that combination, we kind of don't have what our game was intended to do. So
Mm-hmm.
it was never going to be a question whether or not we were going to do that many, at least 2 humans and 2 drones.
Mm-hmm.
What we wanted to do was 3 drones and 3 humans.
Mm-hmm.
And realistically, a lot of the stretch goals involved getting funding to pay additional artists to do card art. And
Mm-hmm.
that was the main reason to get the Kickstarter going. It was to get additional funds so that we could actually afford to do additional content for the game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that being said, what we're going to end up doing is probably releasing a game into an early access state with what we have the 2 drones and 2 humans.
Mm-hmm.
And if sales are willing, or if there's enough time, we'll get the funds. We'll then hire out the additional artists to do the work,
Mm-hmm.
or I might simply just do the rest of the card art on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because what getting to the early access state does, it gives us more time to work.
Right.
It gives us time to accumulate the funds, it gives us better testing bed. It means that we can kind of evolve the game in early access and get more content out.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea with early access is to have all of our features complete,
Mm-hmm.
but to be able to slowly eke in and test out content and to add it in as a ongoing ebb and flow until we get to a full release stage.
Mm-hmm.
So the intention is eventually to do the 3 drones and 3 pilots.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that's it. Because what we're going to be doing is also once we get to feature complete, we'll be reaching out to publishers in hopes of getting additional funding for
Ah,
what we
okay.
need. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's quite a few different avenues on how we proceed,
Mm-hmm.
but essentially we just need to get to an early access state, which I'm so excited to get there
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
we're on the cusp of Jackal breaking through on the entire system rework, which means the rest of the new content can now start, new features can now flow into the game, and
Mm-hmm.
they're really what makes our game shine. So what you see is the very base level of functionality in a game. It's not quite enough to really delineate us from Slay the Spire
Mm-hmm.
as much as we'd like, and it's not quite as far as we want on the customization level for the characters and the cards, and being able to expose all that nice, juicy, tactical goodness. So, yeah, the intention is to eventually do the other characters and drones. It's just a question of who is going to be doing the art.
Right.
And
Right.
given, yeah, because I think off the top of my head, there's about 20 to 30 illustrations per set, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
another 5 sets to do. So that's about 150 plus illustrations that I'd need to complete for.
Right.
Yeah, you can see how that's kind of a big task to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I was pumping out one a day, I'd still be there for the entire year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One a day for the working year.
Right. Sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, so with the card tactics, I don't believe this was in. Maybe it was in the game last time, and I just didn't know it was there. But at
Mm,
Power Up, I got to play around with the card combination system. So
mm,
taking the trait, if I'm understanding it
yeah,
correctly, you
that's
take the trait cards and then the other cards, and you can merge them together, and then you get
hmm
some special new card from that. And you can also
yeah,
then combine your duplicates of cards, and that will decrease the cost of card or increase the effectiveness of it, depending on what the
yeah.
card is.
Exactly. So the idea here is that you get a lot of one of the big things and big mechanics in deck building games is the idea of getting rid of your basic cards
Mhm,
and thinning your deck.
mhm, mhm,
Our system incorporates that all in one move. So
mhm,
essentially, you've got your very basic command cards, which are inherent to your um, factory settings drone,
mhm,
your factory default drone. And what the humans do is they add in their emotions and they kind of change how the programs work
mhm,
and or how the maneuvers are pulled off. And essentially, we're getting rid of that basic card, making it more powerful. So
mhm,
you're already getting a lot faster progression of power
mhm,
in your deck. The duplication system helps further thin your deck by adding in all of the same cards together and basically, oh, I want to be doing this defend move, but I want a stronger version so I can do it more
mhm,
moves per turn. So that's what the duplicate system does.
mhm.
The next layer that isn't quite in the game right now is the virus and mods system. So
Okay.
when you're going through the world, you're essentially beating up robots
Mm,
and you're taking their data, you're taking parts of them to try and enhance your programming. And so sometimes those cards that you do take in are modified. So sometimes they're better with the upgrades and they give them extra little perks.
mm,
And sometimes they're filled with viruses because you've just hit the robot too hard.
mm,
And the entire systems have gone corrupt. But these add little variations into the moves that you've got on. So you're starting now really customize the cards to how you want to play and how you want your deck to evolve. And you get that really fine tune, I guess, deck that feels unique each run because you're not just playing with the same old cards every
mm,
run. You're playing with the cards with additional perks. It's very much similar to Wild Frost's charm system or Monster Train's gem slotting
mhm.
of their cards. And that's the next stage that I really want to get into a game.
Is that different from the cards having the modifiers on them? Because that was something that was in the game of Power Up.
So right now we have rudimentary power ups in,
Right. Okay.
uh, but they're pretty much only exclusively purchased.
Mhm.
What we want to be able to do is add in a system which we're calling the overkill system, where the rewards you get from enemies change depending on how much damage you deal.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, so the idea here is that if you get a robot exactly to 0 HP, so you basically deactivated it, turned off the switch, you haven't actually damaged them beyond what you needed to. That
Mm.
gives you a high chance of mods and upgrades, which I'm sorry, upgrades. So better
Aha.
gear. But if you go with overkill and deal excessive amounts of damage, and we're talking like dealing almost 150% of the target's HP,
Mm.
you're getting overkill. So you've kind of reduced it to base metals,
Mhm.
and you're getting a lot more money, but you're also getting cards with viruses because the data that you're pulling out is
Mhm.
corrupted.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
this is the way that player gameplay really impacts what you get as loot. And that's something that we really wanted to be part of a game, that how the player runs through the game changes their experience.
Mhm.
This is again shown in our narrative systems, where depending on what cards you have, so the emotions, the traits that you've taken, and the commands that you've added to your deck change the narrative choices you get in
Mhm.
different encounters.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
what we're trying to do is building in that whole holistic experience of how the player um, goes through the game really impacts what the game throws back at them.
Mhm.
Sort of like Undertale, sort of like um, there's another game that's off the tip of my head and I can't remember it right now, but we were very much inspired by that Undertale genocide pacifist run
Mhm.
sort
Mhm.
of aspect.